Cinderella, also known as the Little Glass Slipper. Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Cinderella. She lived with her father, whom she loved very much. One day, during his travels, Ella's father returned home with a new wife. Her stepmother arrived in an extravagant horse-drawn carriage with her two daughters. As Ella went to greet her new family, they huffed and hollered at the coachman. "Goodness me," began the stepmother. "It's like he purposely drove over all those potholes." "And the rocks! My poor dress! Ruined at the seams!" screeched the eldest stepsister. "And my hair!" whined the youngest. Ella's father was often away on business, and while he was gone, her stepmother and stepsisters insisted on Ella doing all the chores and made her sleep by the fire in the kitchen. She was often covered in ashes, soot, and cinders. Her stepmother and stepsisters started calling her Cinderella. One day, a letter arrived from the palace, inviting all the eligible unmarried ladies of the kingdom to attend a ball in honor of the prince. You see, the prince needed to find a wife to be his queen one day. Cinderella had nothing suitable to wear, so instead she helped her stepsisters get ready for the ball. Cinderella curled their wigs, sewed their masquerade masks, hemmed their dresses, and powdered their faces. Then they left with their mother in a horse-drawn carriage. Cinderella cried softly, wishing so badly she could go to the ball. Suddenly, a shower of golden glitter rained from the ceiling. A woman appeared with fairy wings. "I am here to help you," squealed the fairy. Cinderella was speechless. "Did I hear you correctly?" the fairy continued. "You want to go to the ball? I've got just the dress for you." Cinderella nodded, still in awe. And with one flick of her golden wand, Cinderella was dressed in a beautiful gown. Cinderella was dressed in a beautiful gown with glass slippers. She saw a beautiful carriage magically waiting outside for her. "Now go, 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 or you'll be late. The magic wears off at midnight." Once she arrived at the palace, Cinderella felt all eyes were on her. The crowd parted, and suddenly the prince bowed gently in front of her and asked her to dance. She took his outstretched hand and danced and talked with him the entire night. "You enchant me. My grandfather desires I spend my evening looking for the right woman, but I seem to have found her already," said the prince. Just as she was about to respond, Cinderella heard the clock strike midnight. Cinderella stopped dancing with the prince, apologized, and ran out of the palace as fast as she could. The next morning, she swept the floors, washed the walls, and began making breakfast. As she set the dining table, all she could hear was complaining. Her stepsisters were lamenting the prince spending the entire evening with an unknown beauty instead of them. Just then, a loud knock came at the door. It was the prince with his guards. He had found the glass slipper that had fallen off of Cinderella's foot and was going throughout the land trying it on every eligible woman in the hopes of finding his perfect match. Each stepsister tried on the slipper, but it would not fit. Cinderella knew this was her chance. "May I try on the slipper?" The prince placed the slipper on her foot, and it fit perfectly. He looked into her eyes and knew in an instant this was his true love. Ella and the prince were married and lived happily ever after. The end.